Yet among the myriad microwaves, the infrared messages, the gigabytes of ones and zeros, we find words, bite-sized now, tinier even than light.
Charge and discharge. Bioelectric charge and discharge in the blue light of light energy.
On me. We're consumers. On me. We're consumers. On me. We're consumers. On me. We're consumers.
Hello everyone, this is Evangeline Sutherland, and welcome to Radio Denegation. I'm your host. And I'd like to say that, first of all, that Radio Schrodinger's Cat, my previous show, has officially, as of me saying this, been cancelled. Now, the reason it's been cancelled, not on hiatus anymore, it's been cancelled. The reason why is because I've had a lot of philosophical differences with the approach that I had at the beginning, and the show still had to be referent to its beginnings. Issue is, it's a bit more difficult to do, like, a Marxist or Orthodox Christian podcast when your starting episodes were like New Age things and more conspiratorially oriented things. So I had a lot of beliefs that I now no longer hold, although I still am interested in how power works. I no longer really have the same conspiratorial type of mindset. I, generally speaking, am much more Marxian in my approach than before, and I am spiritually a lot closer to genuine Orthodox or Christianity than my previous sort of New Agey type beliefs. So, I do want this show to continue some aspects of Radio Schrodinger's Cat. As you notice, if you look at if you're watching this and you look at the screen, the live button is from Radio Schrodinger's Cat, as is the Chiron and the watermark in the corner. So, main thing that's changed is the name and a few conventions right around here, where you can see that the numbering system is slightly changed around. I would like to say that we will not be doing quite as much pure news as before. We're going to still try to do a sort of philosophical salon. We're going to confront a lot of themes. We're actually going to revisit themes from the old series. We're going to try to probe even deeper into things. and we're going to have discussions on critical theory. We're going to have discussions on value form theory and whatnot. We're going to have discussions on science and technology. We're going to have discussions on capital. We're going to have discussions on Marx, etc., etc. So, fret not. This is still an ideas-oriented show. This is still going to be kind of what you're looking for if you were a fan of the original radio Schrodinger's Cat. It's not going to be quite the same. We will, however, have the addition of discussing Twitter bullshit. Alright. Moving on from that, using the subject of Twitter bullshit as a segue, let's talk about some of the biggest Twitter bullshit of them all. QAnon. You might have seen this trending topic. You might have seen people say, "The storm is coming," or "Follow the white rabbit" on Twitter. You may even have had some random person post at you because you mentioned it. Main thing is that these are devotees of sort of, I'd say it's sort of a conspiracy theory, but also an ideology in itself, because it's an ideology formed around a conspiracy theory, really. It is an authoritarian ideology implicitly. First of all, it asks you to trust that this random poster from 8chan, who's posting random tidbits of vague ideas and making wild guesses at what's going to happen in the future, is really correct. And that he really does have Q security clearance. And that when he posts photoshopped images of, like, the White House or something to prove that it's real, and they can easily be shown to be photoshopped, that, of course you're supposed to believe that the people who demonstrate step by step that it's photoshopped are lying. Alright, so what is this guy actually saying, though? Well, first of all, he's saying that the president, you should always trust him and put your faith in him, even when you want to be disappointed. It's born out of disappointed, really. I remember this Tumblr post I read a while back, trying to explain what the appeal of QAnon is. And it explained that after, the latest season, the latest series of Sherlock, the BBC series, was released. The public reaction was immense disappointment. Everybody hated the last episode. They thought it was absolutely terrible. Didn't resolve questions, all around disappointment, so poorly written too. So a conspiracy theory began to circulate among the fans that the season had more episodes on the way, and that this was just a decoy finale. And so, months later, a year later, didn't deliver. Never delivered. So, that's it. And this season, that series ended on a really bad finale and nothing else. Even though people were expecting more episodes. But that didn't happen the other two series. Nobody said, well, what if it's a decoy? they always said, this is just good. But once it bombs, there's an issue. Same thing happened to Radiohead after one of their albums released. Can't quite remember the title at the moment. Back a few years ago, and people were saying, well, this is only half an album. The rest of the album, it was kind of mediocre. It was alright. Not what you'd, not the kind of high quality that you'd expect. Yeah, I do like Radiohead, so of course I'm going to say that their music is high quality, but in any case, you know, high quality, you'd expect high quality, and they didn't deliver high quality. They delivered okay quality. They delivered not enough. And so people started saying, well, hold on a second. Shouldn't there be more songs on the way? There should be more songs on the way. And if you look at the lyrics this way, and this way, then it shows that there's secretly another song on the way. And look, if you look at the third letter of each line on the website, then clearly there is another second album on the way. Never materialized. But then, a few years later, they released their next album, and it was great, it was quality, and nobody said, hey, maybe this isn't the complete album. Because they weren't disappointed, they had no reason to self-justify by saying, actually, there's a bigger and better album on its way. I'd like to note that we're about 10 minutes and now 45 seconds in, so that's about 1/3 of the show, by the way. But back to what we were saying, thing is that this is all born out of disappointment. The whole QAnon thing is born out of disappointment. They're disappointed that Trump hasn't completely wrecked the globalists and hasn't thrown Clinton in prison, and so they're inventing this narrative in which he is doing this. Because what Q does is basically leave crumbs or really vague and short statements and allow people to bake it, because of course everybody knows that when you're baking bread, you just take crumbs of bread and bake it into dough. They bake it into dough, and after that, they have their information, they have their theory. There's the Rothschilds, there's the Clintons, there's the Pizzagate thing, there's all of that, and more, really. So, it's an all-encompassing conspiracy theory. This is probably the biggest conspiracy theory ever to hit the really popular consciousness. So, main thing is that it's incredibly authoritarian. Because essentially what it says is that the United States is currently a military government, and that Trump's administration is basically a civilian... What should be the word? A civilian facade over the actually existing military government. And they believe that this military government is purging the United States of the globalists and the traitors and the dissidents and whatnot. And it should be noted that the way they're seeing this is as an anti-authoritarian, a libertarian movement. They believe that they're restoring our rights from a totalitarian enemy, but really, if you're the one who's saying that you think that we're a military government and that's a good thing, then you're really the authoritarian there. honestly, the thing is that I'm not going to allege that it is, but if this was a psyop, it would be one of the greatest psyops ever dreamed up. You get a whole bunch of people into basically preparing the same kind of people who are saying that the liberals are going to put patriots in FEMA camps and whatnot. You're getting them to accept military rule if it ever comes in, and even assist the military government if it comes in. The same people who are saying Obama's going to impose martial law and round us up, as soon as it's Trump in power, then martial law is a good thing, of course. So, people are holding Q signs and talking about Q on camera, in public at that Trump rally, and it kind of freaked a lot of people out. I wasn't that surprised, though. A few people weren't surprised. It is 15 minutes in. You are listening to Radio Denegation, and please remember to subscribe to my Patreon and follow me on Twitter at Nosticat, patreon.com/Nosticat. Alright, so with that QAnon thing, what you're looking at is people going up to the Trump rally with Q signs, "We are all Q," QAnon t-shirts, and suddenly the wider media is knowledgeable of this phenomenon, and of course it's pretty amazing to see how much of a wide reach this has at this point. 4chan has a long tradition of people on polls saying, "I have clearance. This is the real truth. They're not telling you." And finally, one of them is the trusted news source for a whole bunch of completely insane people in this country. So, given that that was pretty inconsequential segment, let's check out what the Pope has been saying. He said that the death penalty is unacceptable in all cases. This is a very good thing to me. I believe in the abolition of the death penalty. I am a Christian, although I am an Orthodox Christian. I have respect for Catholics, and as a matter of fact, I want to see what the Catholics who agree with a consistent life ethic see, because I think this is a huge win for them. They're the kind of people who are pro-life, and that they're against abortion, but also against war and capital punishment and the usual opposition to euthanasia that a lot of other pro-life people have. Alright, so a lot of conservative Catholics are taking exception. Some of them are even arguing that it's permissible to dissent from the catechism, given that it's a dissent from the right instead of from the left, as some trans Catholics and liberation theology Catholics have advocated. So, I welcome this change. I definitely welcome the idea. I do agree with the idea that the death penalty is an assault on human dignity. I believe that human life, it has a sort of inherent dignity, and I do believe that capital punishment is wrong. I look forward to a world in which capital punishment, and not only capital punishment, is abolished, but all forms of state violence, all forms of market violence, all forms of capitalist violence, imprisonment is abolished. I hope for a world where restorative justice and not punitive justice becomes the norm. So, I talked for way too long about the QAnon thing, but it's kind of fun to talk about. In any case, it is time for what I would like to call... Hold on a sec. It is almost 20 minutes in. But in any case, we can start it early. Let's start the 3 minutes hate America. So, America has a trade war going on. And the thing about this trade war is that it is hitting people hard. And instead of just being with major powers and fellow imperialists, now we have casualties in Africa, with Rwanda being the first, because Rwanda has the privilege to export duty-free clothing to the United States. And they in turn, what do for their clothes? They import used clothing and used footwear. Because of how... They want, however... Good God, used clothing is a huge source of unemployment in East Africa, it appears. 22,000 jobs in used clothing in Rwanda, and we're trying to punish them, and America is trying to punish them for that because of America First. Jesus. Well, Rwanda exported $43.7 million worth of goods, and they want to export more. They want to welcome Chinese manufacturers to open factories locally. And while I condemn Chinese imperialism, the United States feels the need to retaliate for that, because, of course, the United States and China are technically rival imperial powers at this point. By trying to they have removed Rwanda's privilege to export duty-free clothing to the United States. We're punishing a small country that needs to buy our used clothes. We're punishing them for allowing Chinese manufacturing. I don't really know what else to say. Damn, I hate America. But of course, it's really global capitalism that is the culprit, even if America is one of the biggest perpetrators of that horror. So, I have a few theoretical thoughts, really. I haven't really formalized this idea, I haven't thought it all the way through, but I have an idea that perhaps a multi-party struggle could work. Now, forgive me, I'm dumb, I'm not well read enough, but I'll outline it. Alright. So, in contrast to traditional communist theories about how the party is, about how there has to be a single party to organize the ruling class, and setting aside the idea of the setting aside for a second the idea of the party as that section of the working class which is educated and organized against capitalism. Let's think for a second about more immediate practical concerns in this era of capitalism. First of all, we have a lot more precarity. We're not going to have as many people focused on staying in one job. Workplace organization is going to get a lot harder. It's still a very good thing, mind you. I support efforts to do workplace organizing, but at the same time, it's going forward, it's not going to be one of the main avenues of struggle and organization. Workers' councils could definitely be a powerful tool, but immediately, right now, I think it'd be much more useful to have a situation in which there are multiple groups, multiple organizations, let's just call them groupuscules or something like that. There's going to be multiple groupuscules of communists in any given area. Now, their ends are the same. They want, at the end, some form of higher stage communism. Their means are probably going to be different. Some of them are going to be Maoist, some of them are going to be, Marxist-Leninists, some of them are going to be left comms, some of them are going to be council communists, etc., etc. Main thing is that they're all communists, they all agree on, and even then, I think that it's important that what is agreed upon is actually not the big things, but independent struggles. What we should seek to unify on are not the big thing. We shouldn't try to get everybody into one big party. Because it's not going to be about, like, one central event. That's not what revolution is going to look like, I don't believe. I believe that it's going to be a whole bunch of much smaller struggles, and that you're going to have a decent amount of people cooperating there. So you want to have moderately sized groupuscules of communists formed along their own lines that agree on particular struggles. And you're going to want them to unite for those particular struggles, I'd suggest that it would make sense even to have a communist party of Teds and an anime communist party in a region. The main thing that I'd say is that the only condition for this to work would have to be the agreement for all communists to cooperate and not try to sabotage each other, at the very least, on the particular struggles that they're cooperating on. Like I said, this is only a spare thought. I have not fleshed this out, so I'll return to this in some sort of later writing. I'll try to flesh it out more thoroughly and actually give it more of a basis and really argue it out. So, Then after that, let's see. Last item on our agenda is miscellaneous Twitter bullshit. Hell yeah. I'd like to thank Herb Saint at neat_Telemachus for this. They pointed it out to me. I think it's pretty damn interesting, or at least amusing. Let's see. The Hubris guy at Fungum Chum got contacted by Nur Al-Sabai Jimenez. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. And she wrote an article about reply guys, and her article is entitled "Meet the Reply Guys. Obnoxious Twitter trolls try to challenge prominent women and fail miserably." Issue is that she completely misunderstood what a reply guy was, and she just wanted to get back at somebody for replying to her friend as a joke. What do you think a reply guy is? The Hubris guy said. Her response: someone who replies to people on a bunch on Twitter for various reasons. Now, let's say what a reply guy is. You might have seen reply guys, you might have been replied to by reply guys. If you're a woman, and especially a trans woman on left Twitter, at the very least, then you've definitely seen them. Guys who may not even be, like, overly sexual, but have this really weird way of saying, like, "Man, you look absolutely, gorgeous, today. I can't believe how beautiful you are, miss," and then, like, colon, capital letter D. Things like that. They're just vaguely creepy in the way that they reply to people. That's what a reply guy is. And you might have seen them, and you might not know what to think of them. Some people are pro-reply guy. They feel that they love their reply guys for whatever reason, and they defend them and their honor. I don't like reply guys. I think the idea of a reply guys union is a terrible idea, and I think that the solution should be to drive all reply guys off of Twitter, and indeed off of land, into the ocean. This is such a strange place we live in, and such a strange time we live in. Such an exciting time, too, because we're seeing civilization and capital decompose before our eyes. What happens next, I don't think I'm qualified to say. I think that's a huge question, and it's going to be determined more by the conditions of what can happen, as well as who decides that something is going to happen, than anything else, because honestly, I really am not sure, because it could go any number of ways. It could go just pure ecological destruction, total war, artificial intelligence could emerge. Who knows, really? I suggest to study complexity, complex systems, and emergent systems. Thing is that these things provide keys that we would not have thought about before. Emergent systems can, as a matter of emergent complex systems, organized from the bottom up, can actually undermine systems of control imposed from the top down. I believe that it's going to be necessary to understand these things in order to undermine control in both the short run and the long run. Might confront that in episodes soon. In the meantime, very glad to speak with you all, very glad to have made this, very glad that I actually got my software up and running and not glitching and bugging all and freezing all over the place. Thank you very much. See you next time. Peace. God bless.
Yet among the myriad microwaves, the infrared messages, the gigabytes of ones and zeros, we find worlds bite-sized now, tinier even than